Are you ready for a brutal review of the New York City trade shows? If so, stay tuned. Hey guys, it's Lee Marie. Welcome back to my channel. First and foremost, I want to apologize. I have a little bit of a cold, so I'm sorry if I sound a little bit congested. But of course, I come back from New York and I get a cold. So my apologies there. But let's quickly get into this video because I have a lot to share with you regarding the New York City trade shows. Be sure to stay tuned until the end of the video where I'm going to show you actual access and video of the shows and what they look like. So definitely stay tuned for that. Okay, as you probably know, I spent last weekend in New York City attending the New York trade shows. I attended two shows. One is called NyNow, and the other is called Shoppe Object. I want to begin this video by letting you know that I have zero affiliation with either show. This was not sponsored by either show. I attended the shows. I had tickets and everything, so this is an unbiased review of the shows. I do think it's important for me to make this video because trade shows are a very, very big expense. If I'm going to encourage you to spend that kind of money, I want you to know what you're getting into. And not everybody has the ability to fly out to these shows and see them firsthand before they make that huge monetary commitment. So this is why I'm making today's video. I'm going to be telling you what I liked and what I didn't like of each show. So let's get started. So the first show that I'm going to talk about was NyNow. NyNow is a trade show that runs 4 days in February and also in August. And it is a gift and accessory, home decor, stationery show. So a lot of different things for gift shops and boutiques. Those are the kind of buyers that are going to go to a show like this. NyNow is held at the Javits Center in New York City in Manhattan, and the Javits Center is basically like a huge convention center. And so I'm going to basically take you through what my experience was like at NyNow and what I liked and what I didn't like. So first thing, obviously, great location, the Javits Center. It's easy to get to. Hotel was actually really close to it. It was a few blocks away, so we walked to the Javits Center. So you can find affordable hotels nearby. And so we walk into Javits Center, and I'm sorry, but I have to start with the complaints. So first off, there are a million doors to the Javits Center, and not one of them said, "Enter here." So we're trying a bunch of different doors, and they're all locked, and there really wasn't a clear entrance. So that was kind of frustrating. When we finally found the door, we walk in, and again, the Javits Center is pretty big. It's multiple stories. I saw a lot of signs for coat check. I didn't see any signs for registration. So again, we're hunting down where do we get our badges and where do we register for the show. So 3 levels later, we went up to the actual show, and we had to ask someone, and then they pointed us to a corner, which is where the actual registration was. So that was a little bit annoying. Such a big place and such a big show, I think they should have maybe handled entrances and, you know, where registration was a little bit better, because it's very confusing where you are. And like I said, we had to go all the way up to the 3rd level. So that was a little bit annoying, but I get it. Then we registered, we got our badges, and they gave us a bag, and the bag included a directory, which looks like this. And again, another kind of just little complaint, and these complaints really are more things that I think they can improve on as opposed to actual complaints. Like, I'm not actually, you know, gonna write to someone and complain about these things, but for me, I felt like there's some things that they could have done better. And one of them, I'm looking for it in here, if I can find it. So this was my biggest complaint about the map. All right, so it literally just gives you these giant blob sections. So if you're looking for booth like 332, you have no idea where it is. Because all you have are these giant blob sections. So that was really annoying because their directory has numbers. So their directory has numbers, but their actual map has huge blobs where it says apparel's over here and accessories are over there and stationery's over there, but you don't know where the actual booths are. So that was definitely something that I also found annoying. Another thing that I didn't like, I feel like New York Now presents itself to be kind of like a premier or luxury trade show, and that was not the vibe I got at all. To me, and I know this is going to get me in trouble with some people, I'm sorry, but to me, New York Now is a mass market show. I said it. It is a mass market show. What I mean by mass market is it is established companies that have factories and distribution and logistics, and they come and they show you their product and they can fill a 10,000 unit order by tomorrow. That's what I mean by mass market. It was a lot of also international companies, which there's nothing wrong with that, obviously, but I didn't feel like, I thought it would be more small US businesses trying to get into boutiques and shops and stuff, and that's really not the vibe that I got at all. The vibe I got was a lot of international companies, a lot from Europe and a lot from Asia, that are these mass market big companies that want to get their stuff into American stores. And again, nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't fit me. I am a small US business trying to get my products into US, stores. And it just felt like what I needed and what the show really was, the two did not go together. So for me, New York Now was a big letdown. Again, because when I looked through the booths, there wasn't even anything I really wanted for my stores. There was maybe like 2 or 3 booths we stopped at where I was genuinely interested, and they were smaller booths, and I was able to see that it was an artist, and I was able to talk to them about, what they're offering, and, really get to know them. So that part was nice, but all these vendors, and out of that, only 2 or 3 really fit what I was looking for. So that kind of told me that this particular market, this trade show, is not meant for small artisan businesses. It's really meant for mass market products. So that was disappointing. And then one more thing. Sometimes these shows, they have representatives. So for example, say that you can't be there to represent your brand, so you will let like a marketing company do it for you. Don't do that. Please don't do that. When we first walked in, there was this huge section that had a lot of different little shelves with different brands on it. And I'm sorry to say, and you know who you are. If you were there at the show, you know who you are. It was a huge banner with the name of their company. And those people did not know anything about those products. I had one guy that was on his phone looking for answers, and these were simple questions I was asking about the products. I had another girl who I felt like I knew more about the product than she did. I'm sitting there telling her, or actually, no, it's available in this, and in this, and this. I know because I've seen it in stores. And she seemed surprised, and I was like, oh my God. So, lesson learned, do not ever pay anyone to talk about your product or represent your product at one of these trade shows. To me, it was embarrassing. When my sister and I, we came back to the hotel, we were just flabbergasted because I'm like, I cannot believe somebody actually paid these people to represent their products. It was embarrassing. Their lack of knowledge of the products was embarrassing. So please don't do that. If you can't represent the product yourself, don't bother going. I wouldn't trust anybody else to represent my brand the way that I know that I can. So that was definitely a big lesson from New York Now. Okay, moving on to our second day in New York, where we went to Shoppe Object. Literally night and day. That's what these shows were. So Shoppe Object is at Pier 36, which is also on the water, very close to the water, in Manhattan. And you get there and immediately you know where to enter. There is this really fun kind of little tunnel area where you can even take pictures, which is really cute. You walk right in and the first thing you hit is registration. So that I really, really appreciated about Shoppe Object. Registration was super simple. I will say registration at New York Now was also very simple. Both of them were very streamlined when it came to getting badges and things like that. The great thing about Shoppe Object, it's a smaller show. Everything was much more intimate. We literally just had to walk a little to the left and the coat check was right there, and then we walk right into the show. The show was, again, night and day. We walked into Shoppe Object and it was like a breath of fresh air. The show is absolutely stunning. The booths are gorgeous. They are so well done, and you can see that these are artisans. That's what I really, really loved about it. The products, I was drawn in. I was like, these are handmade things. These are artistic things. These are not mass market produced in a factory things. These are beautiful objects that I would love to have in my store and that I really vibe with. The entire vibe was different. The location made it just fabulous. So you walk through the show and you can also see the difference right here. This is their directory. Already a big difference. Mass market, artistic. What I love about them is, so remember when I said that I didn't like that New York Now had a directory with just big sections and you couldn't see where an actual booth was. So New York Now has all the vendors and they've got their booth number. And then what they do is you can search, look at that. It gives you every single booth number and you know exactly where it is in the show. And if you don't even want to bother looking for the booth number, you just know the name of the company, they've got that too. They have another one where you can look it up by the name of the company and you can find them exactly where they are on the map. I love that. I also like that instead of being filled with advertisements or things like that, this was really filled with highlighting the exhibitors that were there, the artists, how beautifully curated everything was. It even highlighted a specific artist. This was such a different vibe from New York Now. It was, like I said, night and day. So this show, again, absolutely beautiful. I loved it. I can see why a lot of the brands that I love, a lot of the candle brands that I follow, do this show as opposed to the other one. Huge difference again. Difference in the buyer, difference in the atmosphere. It was just so much more intimate and beautiful and stunning, and these booths were just gorgeous. Like I said, stay tuned until the end of the video. I've got some great video of the inside of Shoppe Object. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I really, really enjoyed that about Shoppe Object. I thought everything about it was just so well done. So it screamed luxury, it screamed artisan, it screamed maker, it screamed, everything you want to be a part of. That's what this show screamed. So if I'm going to suggest that you do any show, it's going to be Shoppe Object. The only bad thing is Shoppe Object, obviously, is so fabulous. It's very hard to get into that show right now. It's very, very well curated. And so it's a little bit difficult to get into it. But again, Shoppe Object, another thing I love about it, a friend of mine who also makes candles was able to get in because they were highlighting African-American makers since, you know, it's February. So they were doing African American makers, and they chose 10 applicants who had, you know, Black-owned businesses, and they got into the show for free, just to give them more of a platform and more of a voice. And I love that about Shoppe Object. So my friend was super excited and humbled to be chosen as one of the 10 participants, and she got her booth fee paid for. So she got to go there and experience it all and not have to deal with coming up with the capital to pay for it. And I thought that was such a fabulous thing for them to do. So that's another thing I love about Shoppe Object. So many women-owned businesses and brands and artists at this show. Very, very well represented, whether it was, you know, minority makers, female makers, LGBTQ makers. Like, it was very, very well represented. There were makers from Europe and Asia, but again, it felt like more intimate. It didn't feel like these were mass market. So again, those are things that I really enjoyed about Shoppe Object. If I'm going to suggest that you look into any trade shows, if you feel like your business is ready for that, then Shoppe Object is the one that I'm going to suggest to you. Okay, so lastly regarding these two shows, I'm going to give you a couple little nuances and differences in the shows. I feel like cost-wise, they're about on par. I would say you're looking at, you know, an investment anywhere into the $3,000 to $5,000 range for your booth. So definitely keep that in mind. Now, here's another difference that I saw between the shows. New York Now gives you a base price for a booth, and then you have to upgrade to get the wood paneling for your booth. So there were people that didn't want to upgrade, didn't want the additional charge, and so they instead do this really horrific looking beige drapery, which looks so cheap. And it was really sad to go from beautiful booth, drape, beautiful booth, drape, beautiful booth. I know that it may sound like I'm being picky at this moment, but when you're trying to reach a certain target and you're wanting to spend that much money, you need to make sure that it's spent wisely. So these little nuances, I think, can deter some people. So like I said, the drapery was awful. I don't know why New York Now even does that, because the drapery makes it look so cheap and just so... There's something awful. It honestly felt like a flea market or something like that. Like, it was just such horrible draping. So I think that's something New York Now needs to do away with, and they need to just give everybody the the wood walls for their booths. I don't know why they still offer the drapery. I think it's terrible. It looks tacky. At Shoppe Object, it's all the wood. They do not do the draping, which is great. And then there's a difference in the booth size. I love the booth size at Shoppe Object. A standard, you know, regular little booth was 4 by 8, which I think is a fantastic size for a small maker and a small business. A lot of us don't have 40 or 50 SKUs, you know, we maybe only have 10 or 15. So you can really highlight those in a 4 by 8 space. With New York Now, their standard small booth is a 5 by 10. And then of course they have their 10 by 10 booths. You know, you have to pay more for corner booths and all that stuff. So like I said, it's little aesthetic things like that. The carpet at New York Now is absolutely disgusting. It's so tacky that a lot of booths put in their own flooring, which is an additional cost. Whereas with Shoppe Object, nobody had their own flooring. Like, the carpet was so pretty that everybody just kept their carpet and you didn't even notice it. The booths can be painted. And then of course you can have the employees there, they have union labor, that would install things like shelving, or they would put up signage, decals, things like that. They may even assemble furniture for you. Again, it's an additional cost. And that's for both shows that they have that. So at the end of the day, and in conclusion, after going to see both shows, and I'm so happy that I got a chance to see both shows, I'm definitely going to steer people towards Shoppe Object if you're looking to do a New York City trade show. I think it's really more made for that artisanal maker. It is more tailored toward a high-end client. It felt a lot more curated and luxurious to me as opposed to NyNow, which felt more mass market and definitely not luxury. I did not get that vibe at all from NyNow. So little things like that. Another great thing with Shoppe Object is they have this beautiful deck on the second floor, which you'll be able to see in the video that I show you guys, where you can see the whole show. And in that deck, they also have food options, and they had food options throughout the whole show, which were very, very yummy, you know, fabulous sandwiches and wraps, and they had pastries, they had artisanal coffee. That was really, really nice. NyNow also has food, however, you cannot have food in the show, so you have to leave the show and go out to their food court. And there the food was, they had some really nice stuff, but they also had like just burgers and fried chicken and things like that, and then they also had salads and sandwiches, but it was definitely more where you had to buy an entire meal type of thing, as opposed to Shoppe Object, where you could get like a wrap and a Coke, or you could get a croissant and a coffee. So again, just some big differences between the two shows. I wasn't expecting them to have such a contrast, but it was honestly, it was night and day. So thank you so much for watching today's video. I hoped that if you had any doubts or if you had any questions regarding the trade shows, that I answered them and that it helped you to make a better business decision. And now, on to the show. NyNow, they had very strict recording rules, so I really only got just a snippet of kind of what the floor was like, but Shoppe Object, I got the permission of a lot of people to be able to film their booths and stuff, so I got a lot more footage from Shoppe Object. Enjoy!